joining us. I'm just looking over some of the recent comments. You were with VPE, Vice President-elect Pence, and you said you're trying not to be too giddy. And even have you felt some giddiness following the election at this point?
Well, to just have the opportunity to turn things around. I mean, at Heritage, we're studying really how policies affect the country and people. The last 8 years have been very difficult, but we have not yet seen what the negative effects of what Obama has done. I mean, that's going to continue to hit us. But the chance to turn it around with a president who's actually listening for good policy ideas, yeah, I'm a little bit giddy.
Senator, before the election, were you? I'm trying to think of how many different types of Republicans there are nowadays.
Yeah.
And there was, you know, the purist type that were never Trumpers,
yeah.
Those guys. And then there were sort of, I guess, pragmatists, and then there were Tea Party types that should have been, I would have thought, like the hardcore Republicans, but they were pro-Trumpers right from the start. What were you all over?
Well, I don't think the labels are very helpful. I mean, I just think of myself...
Are they not accurate, though?
I just think of myself as an American.
Well, when there were 17, who was your favorite?
I had a lot of favorites because I knew a lot of them.
Well, he was probably your last one.
Frank, I didn't think Trump would be the one that came out the other side. And because I'm a real policy guy.
Right.
In the beginning, he really wasn't focusing a lot on policy. Down the stretch, he did. And actually had asked for a lot of our advice on policies and ideas.
Heritage got on board.
Of people on the Supreme Court. We don't endorse, but we gave him all the resources, all the people that he was willing to take. And he just, as many good CEOs does, I mean, he puts good people around him, he listens to ideas, and anybody who can say they can go get it done, he's on board.
Is the Heritage Foundation the shadow transition team for the Trump administration, as some reports have said?
I don't want to suggest that we're making any decisions, but we've been working, just as Paul Ryan said, and we've been working for over a year to collect names of thousands of people who could fill an administration. We've been working on policy manuals, what to do with the regulatory agencies. We were setting up, hoping that we could advise this administration. And it's worked out beautifully since the convention. We've had a lot of folks, seasoned veterans like Ed Meese and Ed Fulner, who was my predecessor, working as volunteers in the transition office. But we're not making the decisions. We're just providing the resources, collecting the names, making recommendations. Yep. And that's just the role that Heritage plays.
Do you have a preference for Secretary of State? There's like, the short list became long again. And do you have any, I mean, do you know how that happened? He had four pretty good ones, maybe some people thought, but then and if it was going to be from them, then they expanded it to 8. What was wrong with those 4? Was someone uncomfortable with those 4 and wanted to expand the list?
There's always someone uncomfortable, but they're thinking that as they go through vetting, they're thinking of Senate confirmation.
You have a preference?
As well as, I've got some preferences, but I'm not going to share who they are.
You can't?
But,
no? Can you give us any that are automatically disqualified? You think Romney should?
I wouldn't disqualify anyone, and that's not my job. But I do think we need someone tough, someone who knows the State Department. We work a lot with American allies around the world, and they need clarity, and they want the U.S. to actually carry a big stick, but speak softly. I mean, it is a philosophy that works. And we've been really vague and weak, and I think it's created a lot of restlessness around the world.
Mm-hmm. So maybe you weren't up yesterday watching, but what Speaker Ryan was talking about is the things to focus on. Is Heritage helping with the regulatory first steps that before you can do anything, there's things you can do regulatory-wise, like after, I think someone described it as the hand is coming off the Bible.
Right.
They can start happening immediately.
We've got a whole manual. It's called a Mandate for Leadership. The same thing we did for Ronald Reagan.
That's the one I'm talking about, yeah.
It lays out what you can do with regulations, the process that you have to take, what you can do with executive orders, what you have to do through legislation, and what are the priorities in the first 100 or 180 days. And we've been working with members of Congress for over a year to try to focus, because the last thing a new president needs is 100 things to try to do. But it really comes down to repealing Obamacare. The president certainly wants to fund the building of the wall, a good Supreme Court nominee, and then take down the regulations and all the executive orders. And I think businesses are already responding to the thought that a lot of these regulations will stop. If all Trump does is freezes new regulations, I think you're going to see our economy start to grow right away.
Well, if the response of the other side is any consolation, this is the ghastliest group of misfits and miscreants ever created in one cabinet. So I think things are going pretty well.
They are. I've worked with a lot of CEOs. I was a consultant in my
These
business.
are the right people.
And he's put good people around him. He listens to them. And
Andrew, how about Mnuchin and Wilbur Ross? Almost 20,000. I mean, they were barely in office. The Treasury Secretary, the Commerce Secretary. Look at the way I mean, these are good picks. Anyway, Senator, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, when we come back, the CEO Guide to Dealing with Donald Trump, Yale management guru Jeff Sonnenfeld is going to join us with his advice for business leaders on how to thrive under